Lively.
And
What's
we are
up? We are live on Facebook and YouTube. What's up,
live.
everyone?
Welcome to the
Welcome.
business show, guys. Today's business show, we are live. We wanted to do a pre-recording, but we are live. We'll go into a bit more detail. So today is another session. So we're going to carry on for about 30 to 45 minutes. This is the business show where we interview giants in all different areas and expertise that we can learn from. The best place to learn from is someone that's done it already or someone that's busy doing it.
Yeah.
We can short circuit our learning experience dramatically if we do this. So there's a guy that I follow on YouTube. His name's Jaggi Vasudev. And
Jaggi who?
Jaggi Vasudev will maybe
You'll
pop
have to pop it in
maybe
the comment box.
or while you're talking about our restream, I'll pop a link in the comments. And what he said is that we can't manage time. He says he doesn't know where this thing came about. It's about time management. Show me one person that can go to the clock and turn back the thing and say, okay, I'm managing time. Look, I'm turning back time. We can't manage time. We don't have control over time. What we do have control over is managing activity. So what's the activity that you're spending your time on? And do you want to waste your time learning all these things like myself and Willie is doing now? Or do you want
back into the student seat, right?
Or do you want to learn from someone that's already done it and someone that is at a much higher level than what you are currently? So today we are interviewing just an amazing lady, Lizanne, one of the most authentic people that I've met in a really long time. And she actually did a business coaching course with me that we were both on the same course and just really connected. And we decided to interview her on today's business show. She's also a CFO or outsourced CFO. But I'm not going to spoil it. You have to stay tuned and watch the business show and then see what Lizanne's journey is about. And then she's got a specific niche. And we talk about that quite often. How important is it to niche yourself? We go out and we want to take a bite of the big pie and we think we're going to get a share of this big pie and we end up getting nothing. Where when if you niche yourself, it's a much smaller pie, but your income is much, much higher. In any case, we'll get into that in the business show. Really, before we get into the business show, just tell our viewers about our interesting journey with Stream and Restream and Live Pigeon and.
Yeah, so thanks, Eugene. So, as you guys know, we took a decision that we wanted to start streaming these business shows live to our audience. And in order to do that, we had to rope in some technology to help us do that, so that we can actually stream to the multiple channels that we wanted to stream to. But as it is with like entrepreneurship and anything that you don't know anything about, so we have been experiencing challenges, but there's nothing that we can't overcome. So we've literally researched quite a lot of tech. Some of it is Restream. Restream is a platform very similar to than Yardstream that we're currently using. And yeah, we're learning as we go. We do make mistakes, but at least we don't let it get us down, eh? Yeah, so that's kind of what we've been busy out for this next week. So we will have some issues with this new transformation, but hopefully you guys can stick with us. So all we want to ask you guys is go onto Facebook, like our page, and start getting notification for live feeds. We're going to be sharing a lot of content, not only the business show, but live training, snippets of content, etc. Going forward, we've taken a decision as Entrepreneur HQ to start doing that, to actually building a personal brand, getting content out there for everyone to learn from us. And yeah, so that's what we've been busy with, and just and YouTube as well, guys. Go, and if you prefer YouTube over Facebook, please go and subscribe to our channel. We also ask you guys to share it with other entrepreneurs. So yeah, I think, Eugene, that's what we've been busy with. Probably next week we'll go a little bit more smoother. But yeah, so that is what's been up to. So I think without further ado, let's get Lizanne onto the show and let's get the members and everyone that's viewing to learn. And that's the purpose of the show. This is our give back project. Learn from these guys. If you go away from this session and you've learned one thing, then we have achieved what we've gone out there to accomplish. So,
before we go into the show, really just one or two other things. I copied the link for Jaggi Vasudev in the comments. If you are joining us live, you're welcome to ask questions. We can actually receive the stuff from YouTube and Facebook and everything. We can receive the comment. So pop in some questions if you do have some. And then the other part is, if you're not part of our mastermind group yet, it's $149. It's going to move up to $199 shortly. So if you want to get in on the 149, the link is in the comments as well. Click on that, subscribe, and join our mastermind group where you just interact with absolutely amazing people. So let's get into the session, really. I think let's get Lizanne on the show, and then we can start today's business show.
Cool. Guys, welcome, Lizanne.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you very much, Eugene.
Yeah, welcome to the business show.
Energy. I hope I can match your energy.
We sure can. Just have fun.
Nothing else. It's just about having fun. People learn from our stories. We learn. I mean, we've learned quite a bit from the other members on the group as well. And let's get into the show. So Lizanne, we'll alternate a few questions. As Billy has something, he'll ask a question and so forth.
Sure.
So I just, for the viewers that don't know you, just give us a quick background of where you are now, what you're doing, what's your journey been like?
Yeah. So I am a CA. I did my articles in Cape Town quite a few years ago. And I then wanted to get some international experience. So I was very fortunate to get amazing opportunities. And I managed to work in London, Tokyo, Amsterdam, and New York.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, wonderful opportunities and wonderful experience. The majority of my time I spent in London. And after about 9 years there, I decided that I am missing sunshine and I miss my country and I wanted to come back. So I came back to South Africa and I settled in Cape Town, where I lived before I left. And I made the decision that I didn't want to go back into corporate. I think in London I was used to working for very big companies where I did a lot of reports for faceless shareholders, which just didn't do it for me anymore. So the idea was to get involved in smaller companies in South Africa. Okay. And then I was on sabbatical for a year to settle in, and then I started working at a company called Outsourced CFO. So exactly what the name says is we provide CFO services to small businesses who can't afford or prefer not to employ their own CAs. So now I do exactly what I want. I work with entrepreneurs like yourself every single day, and I can see the impact that I make on them, on their families, on their employees, and how they grow.
Yes, that's amazing.
How amazing is it?
I just want to mention, guys, if you jump onto our live session, just pop in the comments. Just pop in your name and where you're from so we just know who's watching the live thing. I see there's a couple of guys coming on live. So just pop in the comments. And then, cool, go for it, Billy. I want to get back to the traveling, though. So I'm going to ask you questions.
I'm not surprised that you wanted to move back to South Africa after staying the longest amount of period in London. I think, Eugene, you also stayed there, myself as well. One of the best things that we did was to set our foot back into Africa and into the sun and stuff like that. But one thing that I learned from that is London actually gives you a very big perspective of what is out there. And you mentioned that you traveled quite a lot. How has this traveling all over the world changed your mindset about what's going on out there? And that how did it change the way you think about business and people in general?
I think with people in general, it gave me a perspective of how different we all are. But yet how similar we are. Whether you can speak Japanese or not, or speak any other language, there's definitely a golden thread through all of us. So I really appreciated that. I love the challenge. You know, if I can mention Japan specifically, I remember arriving, and after a week, I thought, okay, I have no idea what I let myself in for. The company I'm working for obviously have not, you know, had foreigners previously, so they didn't realize how difficult this would be. That was probably about 15 years ago. So at that stage, you know, very few people spoke English in Japan, and I think at this stage still, apart from
I've been there to 2019. I can tell you, it took me 6 hours to get from the airport to my Airbnb, and it was supposed to take like an hour. Only reason was I can't say that they can't speak English. I can't speak Japanese, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I thought I wanted to come back to South Africa, but we were actually working such long hours. I didn't have time to speak to my manager. And after 3 weeks, I actually got, it was nearly as if I got high on the challenges. You know, I couldn't go and buy my own washing powder. I bought bleach, you know, stuff like that, basic things. And I just started to love those challenges to the point that I was supposed to go for 3 months, and I ended up going back twice for 3 more months each.
Oh wow!
So I think the challenges that I experience, and you know, putting that back into business, of being flexible and trying different things and trying to be creative with, as you know, with Billy, is getting around and from point A to point B.
So something completely off topic. Sorry, Eugene. Before we move on, what is one thing that you've learned from the Japanese when you were out there in terms of business and business ethics?
That's a leading question, Billy. That's a leading question.
I think so. This is a huge generalization, but this was my experience. They're not very good examples of work-life balance. For them, it's very important to keep face. It's important for them to be in the office for 12 or 13 hours, but they can actually do that work in a lot less hours. They don't. But at that stage, there was sort of a culture of you're expected to be in
the office.
Yeah, and be seen. And I think the other thing is respect. You know, there's a lot of respect.
That's exactly what I also experienced.
Yeah. Lizanne, one of the things that's really been bugging me is traveling. So that's probably been the biggest effect that lockdown and international travel and all that sort of stuff has had on me, is not being able to travel. And I've been speaking to quite a few people about that. And everyone that's been to New York says the best place they've ever been is New York. But you've been to Tokyo, London, Amsterdam, New York, etc. What would you rate as number one, and where would New York fall in?
To live, do you mean?
Well, just to go on a 2 or 3 week holiday. So when the borders open, where should I go to? That's basically what I'm asking.
Eugene, and it's not Paris in the Vrystaat.
New York is definitely a favorite.
Is it?
Really?
I think if I had the opportunity, I would have loved to stay on longer. When I was there, I had a manager who described it brilliantly. So we were all given, I went as part of a group, and we were all given flats in Greenwich Village to live. And afterwards, we all went for 4 months, and afterwards, most of us traveled. So my one partner one day said to me, what am I doing when I left? And I said, I'm going to the West Coast, obviously meaning California. And he said to me, oh, I've never been. I said, how? He was American. I said, how have you never been? And he said, Manhattan has everything I need. To me, the West Coast is on the other side of 6th Avenue.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And I think that describes the city brilliantly. You can really get most things in life that you want there. I think America in general is a favorite for me. If you go all the way from here to New York, you can just as well go to Florida and go to Yosemite and Grand Canyon as well. I think Grand Canyon is probably number one as well.
Yeah,
I was
in California. Sorry, Beverly.
Go for it.
No, I was in California just before lockdown as well.
Okay.
And I was supposed to go in Feb this year again to the US because we're busy setting up a branch in the US and we're doing some ads in the US and stuff as well. And that's the thing for anyone that wants to open up a US-based business. There's a thing called the Delaware Corporation. Just go and Google it, you'll find a lot of information about it. In any case, and it's just, of all the places, myself and Villiers, we've been fairly all over the world. And the US is so similar to South Africa. You'd never say it. If you look around the country and their way, their character is very similar, a US-based character to South Africa, and especially California. But every single person that I've spoken to in the last probably 5-6 weeks that's been to New York said, no, there's just no other place to go than New York.
Oh, wow.
I really, really want to do that. You've made me jealous now. I really want to.
And you don't know when you will be able to travel. So sorry, man. We'll send you a picture of New York for now. Eh?
I want to cry. So I think let's get into the business stuff.
Yeah.
So this is right up your alley, especially the accounting side of things. So go for it.
Oh, Lizanne, welcome, man. You are the first accountant on the show. So I don't feel outnumbered today, Eugene. So yeah, no. So cool. You mentioned that you're working for outsourced CFO and those guys. So you guys, the reason for working for that business model is a lot of businesses do not want to employ full-time CFOs and stuff like that. So I guess you guys often get to work with the smaller type of businesses. What would you say are the most common mistakes that you see business owners make when it comes to their business cash flow?
I would say the first thing is probably not keeping an eye on it. So not having proper tools in place to have a proper cash flow forecast and keep a proper eye on it. I think for many small business owners, cash flow management means checking the bank balance every day. And know what, keeping in mind when we need to pay salaries and when they need to pay themselves. So I think definitely not having a proper tool in place. And at this stage, obviously having an Excel or a Google Sheet document is not ideal, but even that's better than not having anything in place.
Really hates an Excel sheet.
Yeah, so sometimes you just can't beat it, but yeah.
So what if it's not Excel? What tool do you guys recommend guys use at least at the bare minimum?
So we started using a tool called Float.
I know of that.
Billy, I don't know if you know Xero Cloud Accounting.
Yeah.
We mainly work with Xero. If our clients have something different, then we work with that. But if we put if we start with a new client, we start with Xero. So Float links to Xero. It's very easy to use. It doesn't have its limitations. There's some manual adjustments required. But in general, it really helps that it gets all the information from Xero. So as long as your information in Xero is correct as to when invoices are due and payable, you basically have a daily cash flow in Float. So
okay, wow. Yeah, because that's one of the biggest problems is there's a guy who wrote the book Profit First, and he said the exact problem of the majority of the entrepreneurs is they go and look at their bank balance and they don't understand all this jargon that we accountants give them all the time. So it is quite nice to hear from someone else that's also in the accounting industry that there is actually tools that can help these guys do things better. At the end of the day, guys, if you can have as much as many sales as you'd like, but if you don't sort out your inefficiencies within your business, your cash flow problem is just literally gonna, as your sales double, your problems are just gonna double. So that desired result of having more cash, I don't know. I work with a lot of these guys, and I have exactly the same thing where, they keep on just having cash flow. So I love it that you've recommended it too. I've got a simple rule: if you're on Excel and you're my client, I can't help you anymore. So I must say, I've been through that thing. But yeah, anyway, Excel is a great tool, but it's not a great accounting tool.
No,
it's not an accounting system. So, Lizanne, I just want to quickly find out. I want to get into the coaching stuff so that Billy doesn't have time to speak anymore. So before we get into the business stuff, I just have a question on the accounting side. What is one of the things that you see small businesses, a mistake that they make, or something that you'd recommend? Like, what's one of the first things from an accounting perspective that they should do in their business?
Eugene, I would say actually get an accountant or a consultant on board. Nobody starts a business to do admin. But unfortunately, there's admin involved. Okay, Billy's raising his hand.
No, I'm saying to everyone, call me. I'm an accountant.
So I can then also say, call me, Billy, saying that I'm also an accountant. Call us.
Yeah. We'll share. Call us.
Yeah. So I think nobody starts a business to do admin. So I think many business owners try to save money early on, which I totally understand. And then they try to do things themselves, but they don't always recognize the point when it's time to hand over. Sometimes they only realize that when there's a VAT issue or a tax issue, or suddenly they have an investor that's on board, but they don't have financial statements since ever. So I think the mistake that I see is people trying to hold on for too long and not recognizing when they need to get expertise in. If you start a business in in consulting about engineering, that's your expertise. It's going to be much better if you focus on your expertise by doing the engineering, and let us focus on the accounting, admin, and providing high level input.
And I think it's an important point that you make there. So one thing that we've seen, and we work with quite a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's not even for the accounting stuff. It's all your back office type of things, your marketing, your HR and things like that. What we most often see is guys struggle to scale to the next level because they don't appoint teams to help them.
Correct.
It's a really common mistake that we see, but it's nice that you've highlighted it, that for the financial stuff it's exactly the same. So
Definitely.
Can I get into the coaching now?
No. Before you get into the coaching and take over the whole session, because Lizanne, he's the only one that's going to be talking. So you mentioned before that you also a business coach. When did you get this urge to start doing your own thing?
So the urge has been there for a long time, Billy. I think even before I joined Outsource CFO, I thought about doing exactly what they're doing, but on my own. And when I found them in a very serendipitous way, I realized why reinvent the wheel? So I joined them, and I really enjoy being part of their journey. But the idea of doing my own thing has been with me for a long time. In conjunction with that, as I mentioned earlier, of working with faceless shareholders not making a difference, I wanted to make a difference to entrepreneurs, but I also want to make that difference on a more personal level. So the whole idea behind the coaching was, firstly, I thought I can combine two of my passions, the one being accounting and the one helping people on a more personal level, which the coaching marries perfectly.
Yep.
And on the other hand, Now I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, let's leave it there. Sorry.
Before we move on, so if there's any accountants watching, would you recommend them become business coaches?
I think we are perfect to become business coaches. Oh, yes, this was what I wanted to mention. So I attended a talk on automation. And I thought, if 10 years from now, a computer is going to take over my job, and I don't do any processing anymore, but we already see all the tools that can link with cloud accounting, etc. If a computer is going to take over my job, what am I going to do? And then it comes down to having a personal relationship with somebody and giving personal input.
Yep.
So that was really my main motivation as well for the coaching. So yeah, I think any accountant or CA is in the perfect position. We already have the trust relationship with our clients. So it's just taking things a step further.
Yeah, that's very important. I think Canada's doing a experiment now on it. What's that thing called about where everyone gets a salary for not working? The distributed wage income project or something like that. But basically,
I'm not aware of it, sorry.
Yeah, so they want to, it's a basic, I can't remember, I'll Google it and I'll post it in. But basically everyone gets a salary for not working, because everything, or most things are going to be automated for medical, accounting, manufacturing, and even attorneys with blockchain and those sort of things. So there's a lot of technology coming into the space. When I was in California, actually, one of the companies I visited in Silicon Valley, they have a device where, I can't remember how it works, you put your palm on it or you prick it was a first non-intrusive test, so they didn't need blood from it. And they could pick up, like if you have a flu or something like that, what conditions you have. The cool thing about it is they were correct. They got like industry experts, and the machine could predict with like an 85% accuracy compared to specialists. The benefit that the machine has is the specialist could only pick up if there's a problem with your heart. The machine says, yeah, there's a problem with your heart, and by the way, you need to stop drinking so much beer because you're getting acid reflux, and this, and this, and this, and this. So it picks up all your conditions at one time. So even GPs are, possibly in danger of not having a profession in coming years. In any case, that basic economic wage then means everyone gets a salary regardless whether you work or not. So I think there's benefits and disadvantages to it. So a lot of people sit at home, but really, to be honest, and Lizanne yourself as well, by nature, we've got an urge to help people. So if we're sitting at home, how long are you going to sit at home before you get up and say, you know what, I want to make a difference? And then the other benefits of it, how much more inspired would everyone be if they get to work on their passion?
Yeah, that's
we need to work with passion on your purpose.
And then you'll obviously get a few couch potatoes that's going to screw up the system. From a coaching perspective, let's talk a bit about coaching for 5 minutes and then talk about your niche for 5 or 10 minutes. What inspired you? You mentioned earlier, you gave a brief introduction. What was the main thing that inspired you to move into coaching?
Yeah, Eugene, as I mentioned earlier, really the need to help. So before I started working at outsource CFO, I also did a hypnotherapy course, which is very far removed from accounting. But that was my way of trying to get into a different profession, or something that I can do part-time, of helping somebody on a personal level and so also on a holistic level. So I definitely had the urge to help, not just sitting with somebody, making sense of financial statements. So when I came across business coaching, looking at that, I realized a lot of the tools that we learned in hypnotherapy is actually used in our business coaching as well. the listening skills that we have, the way that you phrase things, the way that you ask questions. So, especially after I started the course, I realized that this is as I mentioned, a perfect marriage for me between, it's basically bringing the hypnotherapy and my CA qualification together as such.
Yes, that's
okay. Interesting. So tell us a bit more about your niche.
So, Willie, my niche currently is I prefer to focus firstly on female entrepreneurs who either already started their own businesses or who's in the process of starting their own businesses. We have various tools that we use in business coaching. We look at the person, we look at other people that's involved and at their businesses. But what we do find is many times it actually comes down to the person, especially if it's single, solo, wholly owned entrepreneurs or sole directors, and how they manage themselves and how they manage themselves in their business. So a lot of business coaches also use different tools in that. Some use Myers-Briggs, for instance, personality test to get a bigger view or a better insight into the person. Some people use the Enneagram. What I use specifically is numerology. So my idea is to start off with a numerology session for the client and give feedback, and then take that information and basically bring it together with their business challenges that they have. And the whole idea is to then provide a holistic, sorry, it feels like I'm using that word very often. But
it must be coming from the numerology side of things.
So I've got a question. What is numerology, or is that pronounced correctly?
So numerology is an easy way for a left brain accountant to get into the esoteric field. Jokes, that's just my explanation. So numerology is very similar to astrology. So astrology would, for instance, use your birth date, and it will determine where all the planets were on your birth date, and the impact that has on your life and the impact that it has on your personality. In numerology, instead of using astrology as such and the planets, you basically look at your birth date, the date that you were born, and each number in your name and your surname is allocated a number as well. So you basically do various calculations, and with that you can calculate what is a person's personality number, what is their challenge, what are their challenges, what is their soul urge, so what do they really want to do or need to do in their life, what do they need to develop. You can do calculations and see, what are they like in relationships. And for me personally, when I had the first experience of numerology, I was very skeptical. For me, numbers at that stage, so this was about 20 years ago, for me, numbers was a reconciliation. 1 + 1 = 2, right? And it compares to
assets equals equity plus liabilities.
Exactly, always. But I wanted to explore something else for myself to get to know myself better. And a friend of mine recommended numerology, and she said, of course you have to try this. It's numbers. It's your thing.
Yeah.
So I was first still skeptical, and 2 days later, somebody else mentioned the exact same thing to me, and they recommended the exact same person to go to as my friend earlier. So I thought, okay, this is a sign. This is what I need to do. So numbers is just what I resonate with. It's it's what I would use as a tool. So the idea is to do a numerology session for somebody, for them to get to know themselves better, and then using that knowledge with their business challenges and say, let's put it all together.
Wow.
So
very
just
interesting.
I see you've got numerology. It looks like you know a bit about it. So have you done a numerology assessment? Just pop it in the comments on it. Lizanne, how much information do you need? So if I give you my birth date now, would you be able to tell something about me?
Yeah, I'll have to do a quick calculation, but yes, probably. You're putting me on the spot. Normally, I would do this in my own, meditated a bit, relaxed a bit in my own time. We can try if you like, but yeah.
So would you can give me one thing. So my
But you
birthday is
can't-
8th of
you-
August 1983.
We already know he speaks a lot,
You
so
can't-
we can't say that to people.
And you also can't say that I'm the perfect partner in a relationship because everyone knows that as well.
Yeah,
So
no,
anything-
like, you can't say that.
So, Eugene, just repeat for me the 8th of August 1983.
Correct.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, now my life is getting great.
The two of you can maybe chat about something else while I do the calculation quick.
So read books, haven't had one done by a professional. So you've done this stuff, Sonia. This is really interesting because I don't know if you've noticed in your coaching thing as well, how often it comes back and do not drink any beer. So how often it comes back from a coaching perspective. If we look at people and if you look at the different business books that we read and all this information, even looking at the Enneagram, where they give you your growth points, like if you're number 1, where you should go, number 5, etc. And all these things keep coming back to you as the person.
Yep.
So I don't know who of you read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I've read that a few times. I believe you've read it as well, eh?
I haven't read that one, but I've read quite a lot of books, and most often Tony Robbins, you name it, everyone kind of delivers the same message, but at the end of the day, it comes back to yourself, and I think that's so important. I mean, Lizannes using numerology, but even the Enneagram test, the Myers-Briggs, the wealth dynamics, whatever it is, Eugene, you often mention it. It's so important that you do that so that you can understand why you do things and also give yourself permission. And that's okay to be like that. I think a lot of times what we see in business, and we both creators, if we want to talk about the wealth dynamics. So we've got a strong profile there, and one of the things that we do very good is we're very great starters, and we can think creative and things like that. But often down this journey, we kind of leave everything behind, and we just so much. And then that thing is it is so great to start something, but when you start reflecting back on what you've started, and you kind of see, okay, but there's another project that's kind of not taking off like I anticipated. The first time I actually did the wealth dynamics test, I kind of got this moment where I could say, okay, but that is why I'm doing it. And then I could ask myself the next question is, but if that's who I am and why I'm doing it, how can I actually fix this or get someone to help me? And that's where teams actually becomes a massive part of your entrepreneurial journey. But interesting numerology. That's really the first time ever that I've actually heard of that terminology. So
I've learned my assessment done on numerology before, but it was like 3 years ago. So I'm a Leo in that type of stuff. I'm a quite creative star in the wealth dynamics, ENTP in the Myers-Briggs, number 3 in the Enneagram. So you can see I kind of like this stuff. I love it about myself. And one thing that they say about all these things, Leo, and how similar all of them are. So all of those things basically says if it doesn't go about me, then I don't find it interesting. I mean, we need to accept who we are and then, like you say, use that. Just one thing before we go on, guys, if you just help us share the channel if you like this, and you and especially all the guys in our mastermind group. Firstly, if you want to join our mastermind group, just go up to the comments and you'll see a link where you can join our mastermind group, and then also like and share this. So the more comments you have, Facebook's algorithm works that it keeps going up if there's more engagement, because it sees it more relevant. So please like it, share it, etc. If you do wanna help us and just get the word out, myself and Willie do this for fun, and we do this because we want to help people. That's the only reason we do it. We want to share knowledge and share experience. So we don't really make anything out of it. So just help us grow and share the channel. Cool, Lizanne. You ready?
I am ready. Eugene, so I calculated your path number from the numbers that you've given me. So your path number really means that is your goal and what you are working with in this life. Okay. So it's what you are trying to attain. It obviously has both sides of the coins. So it can be things that you're really good at. And then on the other hand, the opposite is also things that you need to work on and that you need to master as such. So you are a number 1.
Okay.
So in numerology life path, so number 1 is all about leadership. It's about being creative, and self-reliant, having the courage to try different and new things. On the other hand, it's also about potentially being too independent, and potentially trying to do things too much by yourself. Does it sound familiar, Billy?
Yeah, quite.
A little bit.
You're not outside my window. No. Just like you've been following me around for the last while.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah, number 1s are normally innovators, which I think you are, and usually good organizers. So.
The organizing part, not so much. Too spontaneous to organize anything. Willie, I want to just mention something, and then we go into in the hot seat. So I've got questions. I don't know if you've got 1 or 2 questions that you maybe want to think about. Thanks, Lizanne. This was really cool. We've got a thing that we call the hot seat, where we ask you a question that we don't share with you in advance, and it's one-worded answers. So whatever comes to mind first, just blurt it out. Before we get into that, if someone wants to book a numerology session with you, how do they do that? How do they reach out? Do you want to give out your stuff here, or we can share it in our Mastermind group? So we've got a Telegram group that all our Mastermind members, all the guys that subscribe to our Mastermind group, we share all the details on there. But you're welcome to share it on here as well. And then you can just WhatsApp me the details later, then I'll share it in our group. If anyone wants to book a session with you, they can do that.
Cool. So I'll share my email address, and then maybe my phone number I'll share with you that you can share in the group privately.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much.
Cool. So do you want my email address now, or will you be putting it in the comments?
Yeah. I think you can give me your email address and I'll type it in the comments, and then your telephone number we will share in our private group.
So you can I'll give you my private email address. That's Lizanne Hubert, Lizanne Hubert, one word, @gmail.com.
Cool. And then I'll...
should I give you my work email address as well?
No, that one's fine. And then we'll share the other details in our Mastermind group afterwards. Okay. You ready for the hot seat, Lizanne?
Cool.
Getting some water so that I'm ready to fire the
I'll go first, Willie, and then then you can do your question, then I'll do one, you do one, etc. So Lizanne, as quick as you can, whatever comes to mind, 1, 2, 3, even a sentence, that's fine. So my first question is, what will be the first international place you'll visit after lockdown?
Sri Lanka.
Wow, interesting. Number 1 tip for someone that's starting a business.
Don't try to make it perfect, just get going.
Yay, action.
My next one, what was your childhood dream?
It was all about fairies and pink. Very girly.
Love it.
Cool. One luxury item you can't go without.
Wi-Fi.
Interesting. I think a lot of the guys can relate to that.
Yeah. One change you'd like to see in the world.
I think more. So it feels like a world peace kind of question. I'm sorry, guys, I'm thinking a little bit, but respect. Respect is the word that comes.
Wow. And one last one. If you had to write a song, what would the name be?
In the Light of Day.
Okay.
This is just as difficult for someone to answer as it is for me to keep quiet after the answer.
Do you want to
comment?
Goodness.
Lizanne, thanks a lot for joining our show. Thanks for all the viewers. As always, the reason we do this is for you. So thanks for pitching up and thanks for watching our business show. Thanks for everyone that's on your Machil, Sonia. So Vera was on here as well. Everyone from our Mastermind group and all the other guys that's joining us live on Facebook and YouTube. And again, please remember to like and share. And then invite your friends for the next business show next week, Thursday. We're going to try and do it at 4. This was supposed to go out at 4, but we'll figure out.
It didn't work. Anyway,
Lizanne, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Lizanne, thanks so much from my side as well for joining our business show, sharing your knowledge. And for everyone, thank you for pitching up. Without you, there won't be a show. Please like our Facebook page, like YouTube, and then subscribe to notifications. So going forward, you'll get all this as soon as we go live. You will get those notifications. If you want to join our mastermind, go in the chat box. You'll find our link to our mastermind. But anyway, guys, see you next week. Hopefully at the right time. Hopefully.
Cool. Guys.
Everybody.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.